Look who's back.
You're Federation security now. Damn. You look great. So good to see you.
This is a wonderful surprise, Commander.
Thank you, sir. I've really missed all of you. And feel free to ignore me. I'm just observing, seeing how the pros do it.
No, they should know. Commander Nan is here because of my personal connection to this mission. We need to stop Book and Tarka, and she's going to help make sure the job is done right. I would have made the same choice if I were in the Admiral's shoes.
Welcome, everybody, to Deep Space Pride, a gay Star Trek podcast. My name is Mike. It's been a couple of weeks, but I'm here with my co-host Johnson to talk Star Trek Discovery and other things.
What are we talking about? You're like, you had to pause.
Yes.
Like, Star Trek Discovery. Yes, we're here.
Yes.
It's late.
Yes.
It's like 10:34. I think this is the latest we've ever recorded.
It is. Do you want to tell our listeners why we're late? Late recording.
So we were invited to attend a virtual premiere of the pilot, not a pilot, oh my god, season 2 opener of Picard. And we were like, oh great, fantastic. And that started at 7:30 Eastern. And we decided to start recording at 9. But then you were alerted that they were also showing episode 2. So we had to abruptly stop. And obviously we had to watch episode 2. And now this is where we are. This is where we are now. Yeah.
Now we're recording now because we have very busy lives.
Very busy lives.
Lots going on.
There's a lot going on.
So yeah.
Well,
there
Mike,
is.
you might as well do a plug about your other podcast. While we're here, I just learned about this 10 minutes ago.
So yeah, well, the preview episode, it went out live today for Discovering Trek Picard. I am one of the co-hosts of that with Mike Bovia and Jamie Rogers, who we met from Legacy Trek, from the Divine Treasury.
Divine Treasury. I was like, what? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's Mike's handle. We met them in Vegas, and also some of the Sci-Fi sisters are on there as well. So I am.
I was not invited because I'm not the friendly one. Basically, just so all listeners know, I'm basically the antisocial one. Mike here is the one that is super social. He's very participatory in our Trek Geeks Slack channel. Meanwhile, I'm like a wallflower, and occasionally like I'll like chime in and say something. If my name is like mentioned, I'll say something. Otherwise, I really want nothing to do with it. So this is why Mike was invited. I imagine he's actually
fair enough. But so it's funny because we did talk about this before we started recording. You say that you're not the social one, but Jamie was like, we talked for a really long time in Vegas. So, he is social. But yes, it did come up that I am the more social one, and out of the two of us. But Jamie mentioned that you guys had a great chat at Vegas. So when we met up with them,
perfunctory. We were there. It was small talk. Yeah.
Well,
I can operate functionally in a society.
Yes, you can. Yes. Thankfully yes. So. So that premiere episode just came out today, and we're recording again Friday. So
are you're basically one of the co-hosts for the whole season of Picard?
Yes, yeah, I am. Jamie, myself, and Mike are co-hosting with a sci-fi sister or multiple sci-fi sisters whenever their schedules allow. So
And before our listeners think I'm crazy, I am very social, just in different ways than Mike. He's very friendly.
Yes.
He's out there. He puts himself out there. I put myself out there too, but in different ways. So we just have different ways.
We're just different. Yeah. You by the way have a lot of different friend groups. You have a very busy social life.
Yes.
Which is why we're recording so late on a Wednesday night.
That's part of the reason, yeah.
Yeah, so you have a very busy
before
social life.
Everyone's like Johnson's a hermit and he's probably a psychopath. So I just wanted to clear the air.
He is not. He actually has more friend groups than we can count. Yes, it's hard to keep up with all of your friend groups, which you just get back from
I need
a trip.
an assistant. That's basically what
you really do. I mean, I agree. You really do. But yes, you have many groups and a few mingled in LA.
Yeah.
A couple of weekends ago.
Right.
So
this is not to tangent this too much, but this has come up because I have been seeing someone, which I brought up in our last podcast, and fitting this person into my schedule has been interesting because he is not a planner. If anything, he's kind of anti-planning. He likes to kind of go with the flow. He likes to schedule things a little bit more freely. He's more a free spirit, I would say, like a little bit more like kind of like, oh, you want to hang out today or like hang out tomorrow? Meanwhile, I'm like, hey, do you want to put something on the calendar for 2 weeks from now? Which he's not really a fan of.
Yes.
Because he doesn't, he wants to kind of operate more freely. It's not, I think one thing that's interesting is me kind of coming to grips that him not wanting to lock something down too far in advance is not him saying that he's not interested in doing it or that he doesn't want to. It's not a matter of commitment per se. It's more like, why do we need to decide so far in advance? He just has a very different way of operating and thinking. Meanwhile, I'm like, where's my Excel sheet, that lays out my entire social calendar? So you and Mike is subject to this all the time. He'll get an invite from me when we say, let's get dinner next week. He gets an invite within 5 minutes. So this is just the way I operate. Yes. It's a little, This is why I'm very good at like project managing. So yeah, it's just very interesting.
That's funny because I am that way with work. Oh, sorry.
I'm that way with work and in my personal life.
Oh, see,
the person I've been seeing is not. He's not like that at all.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
No, I'm much more like that at work because I run a lot of my boss's schedules, and I coordinate a lot of meetings. I mean, a lot. Yeah. It's a great deal of my job. So, and project manage things as well and all that. So when it comes to my personal life, I'm a little bit more loose. And Dennis is more of the planner.
I like everything in little boxes, like.
Yes, you do. So
yes.
Dennis is more of the planner, fortunately for us in our personal life, which helps. But I have helped by putting things on our calendar on our refrigerator, which is helpful to look at like the 6-week schedule that helps us kind of think things through.
Well, Dennis doesn't even accept my calendar invites, so I don't know what he's doing.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't use Google Suite. I'm like,
no.
How do you function?
Yes. So, yes.
But yes, we've had a busy 2 weeks because yes, you mentioned I went to LA. You went to LA to handle 15 kids.
I was on a youth service trip. Yes, with 15 kids.
I got some live updates. It sounded like it was insane.
It was insane. It was it was really hard work. It was exhausting, and I took most of the past weekend to recover, aka sleep a lot. And yeah, it was good though. I mean, it was 15 kids from 7th to 12th grade. And so obviously a wide variety of maturity levels and development levels and personalities and skills, both in taking care of things in the bunkhouse where we stayed, but also like just skills in general, life skills. So yeah, it was a
Well,
it was a lot
they're all
of
teenagers or preteens, or what were they?
how old are seventh graders? Are 12, I think. I think they're 12
Oh,
through 17.
well, I mean, yeah, some of them are preteens then, if they're seventh grade.
Yeah.
Like 11?
Yeah. So
Like 11,
no,
12?
no, no. 12 was the youngest, I think. 12 was the youngest.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
sixth grade,
Yeah,
no sixth
technically,
graders,
yeah.
which is also considered middle school is considered sixth, seventh, and eighth, and there are no sixth graders so in this group. So
Got it.
it's seven through 12. So yeah.
So yeah, that's a very 1 year is a big difference. Like from 12 to 13 to 14, that's like those are very different ages. You know what I mean? So
And I was talking to a coworker today, and she's a mom, and she has 3 kids, and she's I didn't even think of this. The last time that those kids had a normal school year was 3 years ago.
Oh my God. Yeah, so they're all like
so
they're all like socially bankrupt because they haven't been in school.
I mean, I learned a lot about how, I learned some. I mean, obviously we all know that COVID affected us all differently and how it continues to affect us differently, but social skills and interacting with people in person is definitely a challenge for a lot of people as you kind of emerge from, well, what we think is the sort of this end of the pandemic for now. Right. Hopefully. Yeah. But for these kids, they hadn't been on a trip like this in a couple of years. And so their lives have been really disrupted. And I heard more than once that the last couple of years have been really dark for some of them. So, definitely, I'd seen some of that in my niece and nephews, some social skill changes and things like that. But now, I've seen it in older kids now as well, which I kind of knew, but didn't realize it was so dark. And
it's hard.
So some really challenging times. So it took,
especially at that age, I think you're still formulating a lot of friendships. You don't have like a solid group of friends, like a stable group of friends to like lean back on often.
Yeah, and that came up for some of them. And New York City is a great place to live, but we don't have very big places to live, right? So you can imagine that families on top of one another and working parents and kids and all kinds of stuff has created a lot, and then being apart from friends and support systems is a lot. So it was but the group came together in the end. I would say the last 2 days were much better than the previous 4, as they kind of came together and we worked through some challenges and but it was good. But it was exhausting, it was draining, and it was a lot of work. And Brittany and I were very happy to land at JFK.
I bet.
And hand them off to their parents, who were all very happy to see them and grateful to us for going with them. So in the end, it was a good experience, and I will do it again. I'm happy to say that I would do it again.
Maybe not like next month. Maybe in a little
bit.
Yeah,
maybe not next month. But,
maybe in a little bit.
In a little bit, yes. Yeah. But I really care for the kids, and so it was a good trip. But Good. So I had that, and here we are this week. This week is busy, getting back into things, things that I wrapped up before. Work never stops, and this week tonight with the premiere, which was kind of an unexpectedly 2.5 hours. Yes. Plus trying to record, plus just trying to, have life. And today's Ash Wednesday too, so there's that, and a
lot going on.
There's a lot going on, but here we are late at night, and we're going to talk about some Star Trek Discovery. We're going to keep our Picard thoughts mostly to ourselves for this episode. Maybe a little we'll share, but
I guess we can wait until next week.
Yeah, we should, but early early impressions we can share maybe towards the end of the podcast. But let's
yeah, well, by the time that this episode is published, everyone will have it will have premiered.
It will have premiered.
Yeah, so let's give the pilot. So not the pilot.
Yeah,
the season opener. Sorry.
The season opener. Yeah. So, but let's wait to the end. We'll share some quick thoughts. We'll see how late it is because we have 2 episodes of Discovery to catch back up on.
Yeah,
and we are looking down the barrel of 3 final episodes. And while we were away, also there was an announcement about a new movie in 2023.
Oh my god, there was like so much fallout from that. You know what I'm talking about, right? The cast was like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Yeah, there was a little bit of surprise. But then I heard Zoe Saldana say that the cast was up for it.
So the problem is, to be specific, I think this was reported by, it was either Deadline Variety, that it was the agents that were like, what are you guys talking about? And the problem is, if the agents are, what are you guys talking about? Then that means there are no contracts in place, which means that nothing has actually been negotiated, which means that are these people even available? If they all want to do it, do they have other commitments?
Sure.
You know, has the money been worked out? These are all much bigger stars. You know, they're pretty much all busier. Pretty much all of them are busier than they were when they did Beyond. You know what I mean? They're much, a lot of them are much more in demand. So it's like, have they even negotiated the money? You know, and now the thing is, like, now that Paramount has put their foot in their mouths and said this movie's happening, which, by the way, whatever. But apparently, I mean, like, they had JJ come and announce it, so they try to make it like more real. But the thing is, they lose leverage, you know, if they essentially have publicly committed to this movie, the agents can be like, well, you're going to make this movie, so you got to give so-and-so more money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because of making the movies no longer contingent upon their participation, it's the other way around. So it was just like, what is Paramount doing? It's like, do they understand what's going on? Like, I just don't get it. It's just so dumb.
Well, you know, you could reference any number of our podcasts where we talk about.
I know. Basically, every podcast we complain about Paramount.
Yes. So yeah, I didn't know that much of a shitstorm had happened through that. But
I mean, it's their problem. I mean,
I'm not surprised.
They'll figure it out. But
yeah, I'm not surprised. You know, with JJ there, I think, you know, I feel if JJ wasn't there and they sort of announced it, then I would. But I think, you know, also being, you know, the director and the executive producer, I mean, he's got some leverage with some money.
No, he's got cred, so that's why they had him. I mean, it was one of those like investment days, so they wanted to
right.
bring out the big guns.
Yeah.
But if they had, I feel like if JJ announced it, it's more legit. But we'll see.
Absolutely,
what happens, you know,
and he'll find the money if they need it. I mean, hopefully they won't be too greedy, but
I mean, but the problem is, you know, like Beyond wasn't as successful financially for various reasons, most of which, honestly, I put at the feet of Paramount. I don't think they did a good job promoting Beyond or really leaning into the 50th anniversary of Star Trek. I thought they did a terrible job promoting Beyond, and it made the least money. And usually with these series, they make less and less money as you go on. You know, like they don't make more money, they make less money. So it's kind of just like, will they be able to justify whatever they end up spending on it?
Yeah, sure.
It's been so long, you know.
Yeah, it has been.
You know, people are like looking forward to Star Trek 4. Are they? Am I? You know, sure. It's like,
yeah, I think there's probably more of a demand now as they've created fans, multi-generational fans with all of the shows that they're producing right now. I think that, you know, I think Star Trek is on the uprise, and you know, they have Paramount Plus to advertise all this.
Oh
stuff.
my god, they have Paramount Plus to lean into.
So, yeah, well, I mean, from an advertising perspective,
sure.
You know,
yeah. I mean, I don't know. We can go on and on about this.
Yeah,
but,
we won't. We have to look.
I mean, I hope the project, you know, comes to fruition. I obviously want that to happen. Yeah. It's just that Paramount, whatever. That's fine.
Well, they did what they normally do.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised when you told me all of that. I was like, oh, of course they didn't do that. Of course. What are you talking about? That
like whatever.
Something was planned out? Really? No. But anyway, not surprised.
No,
yes.
it's not.
Reference
it's not shocking.
reference all of our previous podcasts for feelings on Paramount. And so anyway, I don't know if there's any other news, but that was the one that stuck out to me as I was kind of flipping through some news yesterday.
You didn't listen to the audio novel, right? Yeah.
Oh, I did. Yeah. I
did.
Oh, yeah, I did. I liked it. It was good. Yeah.
I did not yet.
The audio novel is good. It's a nice story. It's set in between season 1 and season 2, which, as we were chatting through things, it seems like we've jumped in time about a year and a half ish, maybe 2 years.
I think. Yeah.
So we're looking at the show being set in 2401, maybe 2402, early 2402. But so yeah. But this takes place in between. It does give a little bit of setup. And I mean, honestly, I think it made more sense to me. I'm glad I watched it or listened to the bulk of it after. It's only like 90 minutes long, so it's not very long.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 2 episodes. Big deal. It's 1 episode, but the length of 2 episodes. Anyway, it was good. And I think it made more sense to me after I'd watched the preview that we saw, or that I saw in the Ready Room. I think you saw it just on YouTube or whatever.
Yes.
Of Picard season 2, which gave us so much more, and we would have had so much more to talk about. At least I would have, on Discovering Trek, had we seen that prior to recording. I felt like that was better than the trailer.
Well, it was definitely more in depth for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it gave us a setup. It told us where we were and what we were doing. And
yeah, and they even mentioned in that it was like 3-4 minutes that it's been like a year since we lost these characters.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, but the audio novel is the audio play is actually really good. I enjoyed it. Rafi and Michelle Hurd and I've got Annika Hansen and Seven in my head. Jerry Ryan, thank you.
Okay.
Starring it with their voices plus their other actors. It's actually it's enjoyable. I really like it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Cool.
Awesome. Well worth a listen. It doesn't add anything to season 2, but it's a nice gap filler. So
cool.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. And it does, now that I think of it, but more and more, it does make more sense after you've watched the extended preview of season 2.
Okay.
Anyway, we've already seen the episodes, so it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
There we go. Yeah, I think that's it for Star Trek news. Let's just talk about some Star Trek Discovery, which one more piece of news was that Michelle Paradise, showrunner for Discovery, said that the sound is done for the final episode of Discovery, and they are scrambling to finish the VFXs.
Oh my god!
For the finale. So.
Oh my god! Okay, wow.
Which is in 3 weeks. So a lot of sleepless nights are coming for, or are happening for the VFX team of Discovery.
Thanks.
But the sound is finalized. So there you go. So there's that. And we're 3 weeks out from the finale. So
wow.
There we go. So let's talk some Star Trek Discovery.
Sounds good.
So we got 2 episodes to talk about. We've got Rubicon, which I believe is episode 10, and the Great Barrier, which was
Galactic Barrier.
Sorry, the Galactic Barrier.
Thank you.
It's late. You're welcome. Thank you for always knowing the details that I forget. No, I'm being honest.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
That's what you're here for. You are the detail guy. So let's talk about Rubicon, obviously, first.
Yes.
Look, we can't go on like this.
If we keep digging in on our own sides, we'll keep battling each other and not the real threat. I know you get that. You said you wish there was a middle ground.
I do.
I'm sending you new data. Now, given the rate the DMA is mining Oronite, we expect it to remain in this uninhabited area of space for another week. No lives will be in danger during that time. And what I'm about to propose is a plan President Rillick and Admiral Vance both approved. You stand down for the week. You come aboard Discovery. We hold you there.
Hold us.
Not in the brig. Just there for safety's sake, and it's just 1 week. And the Federation uses that time to make first contact and work to convince whoever created this thing to withdraw it. And if that fails, they'll back your plan to destroy the control room.
How about you tell us a little bit about the meaning of the title and how it kind of fits in to that episode?
Yeah, so it's funny that they, usually, Star Trek Discovery is a little heavy-handed, and they will usually make it a point to say the name of the episode somewhere in the episode. So I was shocked. I was clutching my pearls that they did not say the term Rubicon anywhere in this episode. I'm also surprised that someone didn't bust out like the whole story about Caesar crossing the Rubicon and like all that shit. I was very surprised. But the term Rubicon just refers to the river that Caesar crossed when he was basically going to declare himself emperor of what was to become the Roman Empire, originally the Roman Republic. And it essentially means the point of no return. Like after he crossed the Rubicon, that was it. That indicated that his intentions were clear, that he was there to overthrow the Republic and declare himself Caesar. And yeah, I think that plays.
So basically like moving forward without, or not, you said moving forward. I was thinking it's like crossing the line that you can't really go back.
Yeah,
up.
there's no way back.
No way back.
No way back.
Things are not going to be the same after you do this.
Yeah. And the only reason why I know this, by the way, is because I was a fan of the show on AMC called Rubicon, it was like this conspiracy show, fiction show. It only ran
Never
for
heard
one
of it.
season. No, it was one of the slowest shows I've ever watched. I fell asleep every time I watched an episode.
Excellent.
But the acting was good. It was just very slow. It was like one of those like slow burn mystery conspiracy shows, and I was like, oh my god, it's like dragging. But anyway, it was called Rubicon. So yeah,
there we go.
That's what the title refers to.
So in Rubicon, we have Tarka and Book going after the DMA.
Right.
And we have the Discovery trying to stop them.
Right.
And we have a new, well, not a new, but a returning character.
Oh, yeah.
So we also have the return of Commander Nan, which was great to see and a surprise. I was not expecting this at all. And I think
the preview.
I
I think the preview spoiled it.
Yeah, preview or one of the photos that they put up.
I love Commander Nan. She's so great. I wish she could stay, but I think she's busy with other projects or something.
Oh, okay. Well, and she's Federation security now, so she's got places to go and people to kill and do all that sort of thing.
Oh, I mean the actress, but sure.
No, I know what you mean too.
I was like, sure. And Commander Nan
that.
In the fiction also has another job.
Yes, she does.
She also has other work. But yeah, no, I like that. I like that she came back. I like that she was able to. I mean, it's great that she and Michael have this relationship already. So it was really good to dive back into that. And they already, because sometimes these third parties come on board and it's all about the friction that happens. But here they're already come from a place of trust. So
exactly,
you don't have to go through all that shit.
Thankfully, it was not a repeat of the first episode where the president was on there and they were butting heads. So that I think is a huge improvement. Thank you, Discovery writers, for not reusing that trope.
Yeah.
So yes, I was really happy to see her as well. I really liked how her and Michael interacted in this episode, and Michael really trusted her to make the right choice and to know, they knew each other's boundaries, and they knew when to which one was going to be making the call.
Right.
Which I thought was really, really nice to see. Something different, again, not drama based, but people based, character based. So I really enjoyed that piece of it. So yeah, we have her coming on board. They're going after Book. in the previous episode before that, we knew that Michael said, you know what, I'm going to be one of the tools that they use to come at you, Book.
Right.
So here I come. And, I really also liked the way that Michael and Book kind of knew each other's moves.
Yeah, no, that was good. I like that they
knew how to counter each other's moves,
yes,
right?
Yeah, they were like playing off each other. They knew what the other was thinking. I like that. And that set up like a good action scene, like when they were trying to stop each other. And then they were jumping around. It was actually very effective because they have that relationship. It made those action scenes just more they just were more salient because you have that foundation in place.
Yeah, it was I felt it was a tighter script and a better overall story because of that.
The one thing is like, and Discovery does this all the time. And this is like, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and we've criticized Discovery where sometimes like someone will just stop everything and tell the story for the purpose of character development. There was a little bit of this, like Commander Non, they were like facing this emergency situation, and Commander Non like suddenly gives this backstory. Like, okay, does this story need to be told right now? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, stop the process. I need to tell you like a 4-minute version of my life, like they just do that. And I think that is, I just wish like those like reveals can be literally revealed more like organically versus like
authentically.
Yeah, it's just like, and it's like, so don't get me wrong, sometimes it works, but sometimes honestly this season I feel that it just really stops the narrative momentum sometimes, where literally things come to a screeching halt because someone needs to share. And I'm like, this is neither the time nor the place to do this, Yeah,
it seems to be a writing trope of this season. And I don't know who kind of set that bar, whether it was set all the way back in episode 1 or, whether it was just something that Michelle Paradise said, we want to add in more speckles of these other characters and their backstories throughout the season. And this is how we're going to do it. I think that, I think that this still feels very COVID-ish, right? So I think that that's part of it. And I also think the fact that we this was all done in COVID times is also part of, having fewer extras and,
the thing is like,
that.
If it was a setting where they were like, I'm thinking like maybe like 10 forward, right? Like they were like in like a social setting and they were fraternizing in, a story, like someone was struggling with a decision and it comes in conversation. That's one thing, I feel like classic Star Trek actually did that a little better, like because there were more of these side conversations, developmental conversations between characters. But now there's all action all the time. And we get very few moments where there are like, and we do get it once in a while, like, we talked about it, I think 2 episodes ago, where, like Stamets and Culber, like they have these intimate moments and those work because they're home, they're figuring things out. That's fine, But I feel those moments are really like, we don't get those moments as much, because usually things are just
with the other crew,
there's just too much happening. So we get fewer of those like moments where that kind of storytelling can take place. So then they shove it into like the middle of like an emergency situation. Is like, okay, I don't need the story right now, just tell me what you want.
I think that this, I agree, these sorts of scenes would be great in their new lounge or in the mess hall, but they didn't do it. They're not doing any of those scenes.
I know it's rare, there is some, but it just doesn't happen that often, which is too bad.
But the ones that they've done are, 1 or 2 two maybe 3 characters. There's no real background energy to this. I think that this is, and not to do any Picard spoilers, I mean, if you've watched the preview, which is out there now, you'll see the opening scene, and one of the things that I said right away as we were watching it, I was like, oh, look at all the crew on the Stargazer.
Right.
And this is something that you don't see in Discovery. And I think that partly, I would probably say that a great deal of it has to do with being filmed in Toronto, Canada versus LA. So the COVID restrictions are very different between our two countries. So I think that that's part of it. I also think that even in the beginning of, in the scene we see in the preview of Picard, there's energy there that you don't see in Discovery, because it's really just the main cast and the, this kind of the secondary cast. So you don't have those scenes from previous seasons where they're in the mess hall, like all laughing. And, I think back to season 3 when Tilly talks to Giorgio and gets all the food thrown on her. And, there's other tables that are filled. The other command crew is at another table. Yeah. There's just energy. And I think that this is one of the things that's really lacking in this season, is just kind of this greater energy that surrounds the crew. So I think that this is one, and I think this whole idea of dropping these story elements is the only way that they can do it. And they did it in the first episode or the second episode, I forget, and they just kind of follow that
the
model.
thing is, like, we talked about it, like with the more tertiary cast members, it's like a literally like information bomb at the most inappropriate moment, where it's almost like this is like not even good, like sometimes I can understand what you're saying, but sometimes I'm also like, I don't know if this is like lazy and they don't know how to weave it in a little bit more organically and make it feel more authentic, or what, I don't know. But this it wasn't as bad. Like, I noticed it, but it didn't bother me that much. It wasn't like, it wasn't like a Reese moment where it was like, oh my God, like literally you're on a planet saving people. There's no time for the story right now, like whatever.
Right. Yeah, totally.
So
the other dynamic going on here is obviously Tarka and Book, and Tarka's mission to blow up the DMA.
Oh, and by the way, can the Federation hire me as one of their top ambassadors? Because I know I mentioned this to you over Slack,
yes,
but it's like they were literally reading my mind, and it's like, wow, there was like compromise. What a concept! That was basically like this episode. It was like, what? There's a middle ground. That was like what Michael, I think when Commander Na was telling Michael the story, Michael got this like light bulb moment. It was like, oh yeah, there has to be another way. Let's talk to Starfleet. I was like, oh my God. So it took all these people, the president of Federation, your top admiral, to figure out that maybe compromise is like one of the ways that we can go about this. So that was frustrating. I was amused, but yet frustrated. So
yeah, I was when I watched that, I laughed because you'd been talking about this for several episodes. So
yeah, but look, like I do concede that there's one major element here that was missing that convinced Book to delay, which was they were able to hone in on how much time the DMA would need to mine all the boronite in the region, because they were like, oh, it's gonna take a week, so we have this is our deadline. So they were able to they had that piece of information that they were able to set like how long the DMA would not harm like any planets in the region. So I give them that. It's just that whatever, it's fine. I did, but I do concede that point.
I love the way that you did that. I wish people could see that. Oh, whatever, fine. Like
it's fine. It's fine.
The swishing of the hair.
Yeah, and, exactly. Exactly. I was then frustrated that Tarka, basically takes over the controls and fires all the photon or quantum torpedoes at Discovery, but then Book does not lock him out, and then of course Tarka is then able to transport the weapon to the DMA. I'm like, come on, like that would have been the first thing I would have done, like lock him out of the controls, but they couldn't not have the weapon detonate because from a narrative perspective, it had to happen. Like we can't just like, oh, it's over, like from just a build-up perspective, we had to have that happen. It was just kind of like frustrating that, that was just a sort of like logic issue for me.
Well, I mean, yes, I agree that it was a misfire, so to speak, on nice. Book's part. Nice. But the devil will do what the devil does, and he has I am not a Tarka fan, as
No,
everyone
we
knows. I
know
believe
this,
by
Mike.
now. I dislike this character strongly. Even after the next episode, which we'll talk about, I still dislike him. Even more.
Oh my God!
But when
even
he did
more.
I mean, I at the end of at the end of Rubicon, if I were Book, I probably would have shot him.
Okay.
Quite honestly, that would have been fine with me. That would have been a great ending. He did it. Found out it wasn't there. I would have been all right. Yeah, you had your shot. Nice job. You just screwed us. We're now really wanton felons in the universe, and I would have shot him. And yeah, so the fact that we continue with this character irritates me to no end. I have not met a character like this in Star Trek in a long time. Anyway,
it's so funny that he's so triggering for you. Like,
well, it's the bullying piece. Once a bully is a bully is a bully, and you can't get out of that. You can't, that isn't something that you change and suddenly get forgiven.
Well, Stamets, like we talked about last time, I think it was last time or two episodes ago, like Stamets was totally like that though when we first met him. He was totally like this like obnoxious, know-it-all, like bully, like when we first meet him. He's mean to everyone, until we saw his relationship with Culber, and that kind of softened him. But
yeah,
the first few episodes, he was really prickly around the edges for sure.
Yeah, he was prickly. He was not I don't know that I would.
No, he like totally put other people down. Like, like he totally like put himself above other people, like his intelligence and like his know-it-all attitude. Like,
no,
I didn't like Stamets at all when we first met him, but they softened him.
I don't think I liked him either. He softened over time. But Tarka, I don't know.
But Tarka basically reminds me of Stamets. Like I disliked him. I think I disliked him at the same level as I disliked Stamets at first.
Okay.
But you had a more extreme reaction to Tarka. So there's no turning.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. Not pun intended.
No, there really isn't. Yeah, there is no turning back, literally. And after he sent off that sent the bomb and then found out that the energy was not on this end of the wormhole, but on the other end,
right?
And basically doomed the galaxy. I'm sorry. Like, throw him on an airlock. Be done with him. I'm over him.
No, I mean, I admit, no. This episode was very frustrating for me. Like, it was very frustrating that Tarka like blew things up.
Because at the end, Book came to his senses. Logic kicked in for over emotion for Book, and I think that is what saved me from really not liking Book.
Right.
What he was doing.
No, this episode redeemed him for sure.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he was redeemed, and then Tarka, basically put them on the Federation's most wanted list at that point, because that was it. And to find out that it was worth for nothing, shocking. I wasn't that surprised, but I also wasn't expecting to find that out this episode. And then he went and did that, and to find that out, I think I was still in shock from the fact that he did it, and then to see him realize that the energy wasn't there that he was looking for was like, there you go, asshole.
Right.
Now you've done it.
Right.
Now you've screwed Book and everyone in the universe. And as we see in the next episode, what is it? 100 times bigger or whatever it is. It's
I don't remember the magnitude.
It's magnitudely bigger. And thank you, Tarka. So yes, find an airlock and push him out.
Right.
And I don't care about the sob story that we get next episode. But
Okay.
We'll talk about that. Anyway. So that's sort of where it leaves us, right? The Rubicon leaves us. They crossed, Tarka essentially took Book and crossed the line without Book's permission, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
A new DMA shows up right in the same place, basically continuing the work that the weapon did, and now it's bigger, and so that is sort of the arc of that episode. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really sticks out for me for Rubicon before we get
I
into
mean, there
the
might be
Galactic
some.
Barrier.
I feel there might be some like BC things that I just don't remember right now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, there probably are, but we've got 2 episodes to
Yeah.
to talk about, and
Right.
the Galactic Barrier is the next one.
Madam President, do you have a moment?
Of course.
When last we spoke, you suggested we might share a meal. I would very much like to take you up on that offer. But Discovery is leaving very shortly, and as you know, we may not. So I thought I should tell you, while I'm able, how much our new friendship has meant to me, and how much I've enjoyed working alongside you. In any event, I feel as if there could be something here. Perhaps more than a friendship?
Oh, Mr. Saru, if you will excuse me.
And this one's a little more fresh, right? I think, when did I watch this? Did I watch this Friday or Saturday when I get back?
I don't know. I don't know your life.
I don't know my life either. I was I was exhausted. Oh, you know what? I did. Oh, so now I remember. Remember, I watched it Friday night as I was laying on the couch, and I
you fell asleep.
asleep.
Yes,
I fell asleep.
I
So
do know your life. You told me this.
I don't remember it, so I had to watch it again on Saturday. And yes. So the Galactic Barrier.
It was fine. It's just
it was fine, yes.
Well, you falling asleep. I know you were tired, but also you falling asleep was an indicator. I mean, basically, this episode was very slow. Like, things happened, but not much happened. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they basically got through the barrier, and then half of the episode was, in my mind, almost filler because it was Tarka's background, which I just thought was very not well weaved in with the rest of the. It felt, I was kind of like taken aback actually when they decided to dedicate so much time to Tarka's backstory, because it just felt so incoherent with the rest of what was going on. It just, it took me out of it stopped any sort of narrow momentum of what's going on with Discovery. And it wasn't even, I told you before we started recording, I don't even feel we got that much. There wasn't like this grand reveal that like, oh, is Tarka a bad guy? Or is there more to the story that we didn't really know? It's basically just kind of confirming what he's already told Book. Like, basically that he has a lover that's in an alternate universe. And I was like, all right, like, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the story of Tarka is, it is what
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine. It's like serviceable. It's literally serviceable. Like,
it's serviceable.
If there was some cool twist, I was like, I would like, oh, maybe he's like working for like, whoever's in charge of the DMA or whatever. That would have been cool, but we didn't get anything like that. It was very like just basic.
Yeah, it was. It was. Two people put together and eventually become friends,
and then
perhaps even more. Which do you kind of call that an interspecies? Do you call that a gay relationship? Are they, obviously Tarka's male, is Oros male?
I think he was, yeah, I don't know. Well, I think he says he, so I mean, pronoun wise.
Yeah, he has always said he. You're right.
Yeah,
that is true.
so.
He has always said he. So
but when you're talking about different species, it's like, who cares about gender? It's like whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So, and Oros is played by a really cute actor. You should look him up. I can't think of his name right now, but
really,
he's a cute Asian actor. Yeah.
Ooh, Asian! I can't even tell under all those prosthetics.
No, but he plays a cute alien too. I like the energy that I liked Oros. I thought it was, an interesting. But I also, so here's my little mini prediction. I think Oros is a member of the 10C.
That's so interesting. Oh my God,
That's my
that'd be so
prediction
interesting.
because
That would be interesting.
because he's trying to get home, right? And so
Well, he says
I'm
home
wondering,
as in it is like some sort of like utopian universe. That's all he positioned it. I don't know what that
right?
means, but
Yeah,
you know, he made it sound like it's
yeah,
literally a parallel universe that's like perfect. But it almost
yeah.
seemed like mythological, like the way he was putting it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, but I also think that, a bubble outside of the known galaxy,
Sure.
it could be that alternate universe, right?
Sure.
It could,
Yeah.
So that's my prediction, is that Oros is a member of 10C. I don't know.
Twist.
And actually may come down to being like one of the, baddies in all of this. So
Interesting.
I think that's the other thing too I'm thinking is, why create a whole new character if you're not going to have them be in more than one episode? A whole new species. So you don't kind of do all that work creating a new species and then
What are you talking about? Star Trek does it all the time. It's like they used to have like Alien of the Week, like all the time.
Sure, but
it's a different forehead. That's the
but I think that this is a little bit more planned out, given and if you watch the Ready Room, they do talk about
it's a character. It's an actual character that they fleshed out a little bit and invested.
Yeah, and we don't know the species. Technically, we don't know the species, but
No.
if you watched the Ready Room last week, which you didn't, but if you do, they do talk to the. I don't know if he's the designer or like he helped make these creatures.
Okay.
So he's part of the team that kind of develops that and does all that. So
okay.
And it's an outside studio that that Paramount or whomever partners with.
Okay.
So
okay.
So I think that's my prediction, that there's some sort of connection there. I think that it sort of humanizes Tarka a little bit, but it's too late for me. I'm sorry. Like that guy just needs, find some space and throw him out into it.
Okay.
I really don't like this character.
I understand. I think our listeners know as well.
It's just one of those things.
People know.
I have a strong feeling about him. Anywho, so we have that going. So we have that backstory, and then we have getting through the Galactic Barrier,
which is fine.
Which
it was like, they're gonna get through it. So it's one of those things where it's like, And I was saying to you, like, I feel that I'm glad next season of Discovery is only 10 episodes, because I feel this 10C thing is dragging. It's like, when are we gonna see these people? It's like, and this episode felt like a lot of filler to me. It was like, okay, this does not need to be like one episode of getting through the Galactic Barrier. And then next episode, like them going to the planet. I was like, oh, this is where they came from. Are they going to even meet these people? They're not even going to the bubble yet. They're going to the planet first. I'm like, oh my God, why going to the planet first? I'm sure they'll come up with a reason, but it's like, this is really dragging.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that front for sure. It is kind of dragging out. My problem with the whole Galactic Barrier thing is that every time that Star Trek goes to the Galactic Barrier, you encounter something different. And I just, there's, back to the original series, it gives people ESP, and now suddenly it doesn't.
Because they have the antimatter shielding or whatever.
Okay. Yes. Maybe it's
to protect them. To protect them from like the negative energy.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
Yes, I do remember that. Yes. But it's
were you asleep for that part?
Maybe. No, I do remember that part. I do remember the antimatter shielding. Because that's the whole reason that Tarka and Book go to the planet.
Correct.
To begin with, and if you look back at the beginning of the episode, you see the dots spraying it on the Hall of Discovery. So
good job.
Yes, totally get that. I just I don't know. Like, we don't, every time we go to the Galactic Barrier, it's something new. Anyway, bubble. Now we're jumping through bubbles.
I know. I was like, all right, sure. Why not?
We're riding through bubbles, and then there's a traffic jam of bubbles, and I mean,
I'm telling you, they need to come up with shit just to like buffer in story. Like it's like, all right.
yeah. I agree. I did not know that season 5 was just going to be 10 episodes. I'm in favor of that, though.
Totally fine. Totally fine with that.
Yeah, it's totally fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think it will help build a tighter story.
Yeah.
And also I think it'll keep it consistent right across all of the Star Trek shows now. They're all 10 seasons, 10 episode seasons.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there we go. Only took them 4 seasons to realize that. I think, you know, why didn't they think of this anyway? Why didn't they think of this during the year of COVID when they're filming it? Like, have them there less of a time. Let's tighten up the story. Let's do just 10 episodes this season. You know, that sort of thing. Anyway. One word, Paramount. Anyway.
Well, we do get some Saru and President Tirana.
Oh yes.
Donna?
But before we get to that, Tarina.
Thank God. Okay. Thank
God before we get that, we sort of say goodbye to Lieutenant Commander Boyce.
Boyce? Is it Boyce?
Is it Boyce?
Bryce?
Bryce.
No, because I get Bryce and Reese confused. And I was like, Y or R Y?
Sorry. I'm really sorry. Ronnie, I'm really sorry. We never seem to get your character's name correct. But yeah, you're off to hang out with David Cronenberg permanently.
Yeah, I was like, I noticed that too. And then there was like this musical fanfare as he was walking off. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you noticed that. Like Saru was talking to him.
I did, yeah.
He's like, you know, congratulations, all your hard work, blah, blah, blah. Then the music swells. I'm like, all right, I guess. Like, whatever.
Yeah, well, the touching tribute, Saru putting his hand on his shower, and like it was a, you know, yeah, it was sort of a. I mean, he hadn't been in most of the season, and we've had Lieutenant Christopher at communications for most of the season anyway. So, except when Bryce explained what was it, surfing and saved the day in that episode,
right?
Anyway,
that's like. Bye.
So we say goodbye to him, and then we see Saru and President Tarina have a moment.
Oh wait, there was another thing. I need clarification. So Adira is back, right?
Yes.
Adira comes back at the beginning of the episode, and has left Gray behind because Gray is training to be a guardian. Correct. Yes. So I need to rewatch that scene because I couldn't quite understand. They're so together, right? They're fine, right? Because I felt that Adira was kind of being a little weird about it. And then Adira was like, oh, we're fine where we are. I was like, wait, what does that mean? And then I didn't rewind. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Well, there's 2 things going on in that season. And that's a scene. It's not season. Scene. Stamets is gushing on Adira and her, you know, praising her in front of the captain, which is uncomfortable for her. And then there's the piece about Gray and not being able to talk to him, which I actually think comes in that piece of it comes in a scene later on with Stamets and Adira in engineering. When they're talking about that and how well they do go back to it. But it's just that Adira says something along the lines of, oh, we're comfortable where we are right now. I was like, what does that mean? Yeah, she explains it more in the second scene, I think, with Stamets. They explain it more clearly in the scene later on, talking about how they will miss talking to Gray every day. You know, and having them there to kind of talk through things and be present and all of that. And now they have to communicate through, you know, over space and time, and they will get to talk about crossing the Galactic Barrier, which is exciting. So I also see, for me, I kind of forgot that they were together or in some form, in some sort of like togetherness. I thought that they meant that they were missing Gray being part of them, like as part of the symbiont and that whole piece of it.
Okay.
So I sort of missed and kind of forgot that
Maybe.
they had a relationship.
Yeah, maybe that. We'll see.
Mm.
I'm like, is Gray coming? I
Yes.
was also unclear. Is Gray coming back? I'm like, maybe.
I don't think Gray is coming back. It doesn't seem like it unless he's on vacation from Guardian School or whatever. But I think, I think he is going. I think Gray is going to stay on Trill. I mean, how else you're going to be a Guardian? You can't
Right.
be a Guardian.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And
he's
not a member of Starfleet. Like even
right.
Yeah. Why would he?
Yeah. Adira they've become a part of Starfleet. Right. So yeah, but who knows? Who knows what the future holds? But I think that's all we're going to see of Gray, and Adira will kind of have to deal with that. But I thought it was even more touching, the scene between Stamets and Adira, where Stamets was kind of explaining why he was gushing so much over her, which went back to his father not kind of being emotionally
Yes, I remember
supportive of him. So he was, and he said, I'm going to try to balance that, but I, know that I'm doing that out of a place of love and out of an abundance of care for them. So
that is better than in a random crisis situation telling a story like that.
Yes,
that
is inappropriate. That is a more appropriate use of. It feels
like more appropriate place to have time and place to have that storytelling time.
Yeah, and I think it's funny because you get those moments with Hugh and Paul, and then you get the moments with Adira and Paul, and you get these smaller moments like with Saru and Tarina, these really intimate moments that they really do well. And why couldn't they kind of do that with, why couldn't Tilly be over at her station, going way back to episode 1 or 2, I forget which, 2, I think. Why couldn't Tilly have been at her station, and Bryce comes over and says, if you look at those sine waves look like, surfing, and he could surf out of that. Like that would have been a more like
well, the problem
organic.
Is that the primary and even secondary cast members don't interact enough with these tertiary cast members to make it feel it's always going to feel odd because okay, but they never talk to each other. Like, why are they suddenly talking? You know what I mean? Like, they just don't interact.
I mean, enough. They have in previous seasons. They've hung out in
group settings, but not so much more intimate, like 1-on-1 or 1-on-2, which would, that naturally would be the more appropriate setting for a story to come out. But then it's like, why are they talking to each other? Are they even friends?
Yeah, I mean, I think this crew is close, and I think that's sort of, yeah. But anyway, this is. They do it with the main cast, and they seem to not do it well with the secondary bridge crew, unfortunately. So anyway, so then going back to Tarina and Saru, we have this interesting confession of Saru to Tarina before. And then we have the awkwardness of finding out that she's on the crew.
Well, now that I'm seeing someone, I was triggered because I was like, how honest should I be about certain things? It's also it's very similar. It's not parallel, but it's similar because it's relatively nascent, right? It's still very new. It's you don't want to rock the boat too much. You're still building some sort of friendship / relationship. But there could be more. And it's okay, how honest should I be? Or should I wait? In this situation, Saru decided to go for it because he's might be dying. So it's might as well just, let it rip. But I was ooh, it made me just think about when I'm, where I am right now. And I was what point is it? Because you don't want to it's sometimes it's you're getting a squirrel to come to you. This is my analogy, right? You're making a squirrel come to you, or oh, come to me. And you don't want me to be big motions, and scare them away necessarily. And,
That's
make loud
great
sounds.
Analogy.
Right?
I love that.
Hands waving, shouting, right? Because then they're
yes.
This is dangerous. I don't want to go to you. So it's at what point is it appropriate or inappropriate? It's also more complicated, the situation, because they're they're both professionals and like they work together in some capacity, or they need to be put in situations where they work together, so that's more complicated. So I felt for Saru basically in this moment.
I love that you found that. I didn't make that connection, but I love that you did. Because I get the Paul and Hugh moments a little more than you do, because that's more like
that's where you are.
That's where I am.
Right.
But that's awesome to hear you say that, seeing Tarina and Saru is, bringing it means something to you. So that's
because
really
it's like, Saru, I mean, that's the whole struggle, right? Saru is like, how does she feel? Like,
right, yeah.
It's even worse because she's Vulcan, so she's not gonna, put her heart on her sleeve, so she's gonna be very reserved about it, even if she has interest. So it's like, it's
and I feel like she's the one that sort of broached the subject of dinner first, I think, right? So. Yes, or the walk, if you want to go on a walk sometime or something to talk things through or whatever, then I'm here for it. So yeah, I think that that's interesting, and that's cool. I think that it's interesting because now the stakes are a little bit different. He's sort of embarrassed because
she's there. She's like, oh, you're here. You're on the ship. What now?
So, and we have to see each other every day, and then Hugh shares that Paul and I started out like that as well. That's how relationships start. So yeah,
and then like what Culber said, where he was like, everyone is going to think about their insecurities. Everyone's going to think they messed up, or think about what went wrong or what they said wrong, versus. Because that you're in your own echo chamber of your mind, you're just reflecting on like what you feel didn't go well. So I like that he put that out there for Saru too.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. I mean, even I'm sure you're experiencing that to some degree. I mean, even in a relationship of years, like there are moments of insecurity sometimes. So
right.
It's not just a new relationship thing, but it can come up other times as well. But yeah, so I'm excited to see what happens with this. I don't remember how it ended towards the end of the episode.
They sat down together for a meal in the lounge. Because
I knew it was in the lounge. I thought that she wanted to talk to him about something, or I forget.
I think that they just saw each other in the lounge, and then Saru was like, oh, you're busy, and then Tarina was like, oh, actually, she basically said I can use the company, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
she reciprocated. So I was like, oh, sweet. Yeah. And I'm totally shipping them. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it's really nice. That's a cool development that really which I picked up on last season, and everybody's like, what are you talking about?
Unlike if we're going to talk about Picard episode 1, season 2, episode 1, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So we'll not talk. Fuck. Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about that.
No, we can just very briefly, because by the time this comes out, you're right. Yes, everyone will have seen episode 1.
Well, we'll talk about that. Let's wrap up the Galactic Barrier, and then we'll talk about some initial impressions of Picard before we hit the sack. So we've gotten through the barrier, thank goodness.
I was like, oh my god, please don't drag this out further.
We've identified a planet outside of this bubble,
right?
And that's where we're headed. Book and Tarka have got their antimatter and are on their way.
But then the preview for next episode shows them like boarding Discovery to get something. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Yes, that was not what I expected. And seriously, so Discovery had to jump through all these bubbles to get there, and you're just gonna slide through? Like,
unclear. I don't know.
Anyway,
I don't need a whole sequence of them jumping through the bubbles too. Like I do not need that in my life either. So whatever.
But my feeling is like, how, you know, time wise, again, how long is all this stuff taking? You know, so how far behind are the, you know, all that stuff. But anyway, whatever. So there we are. We're heading to the planet. We're getting closer to the 10th. We've only got 3 episodes left. I mean, seriously, like, there better not be any.
Wait, 2 episodes. Is it 2 episodes? Galactic Barrier was 11.
Oh no, I'm wrong. Sorry. Yes, there's 3 more episodes. 3.
Is it 3 more episodes? 2 more episodes?
No, 3. Tomorrow is the 3rd. Is March.
Oh,
3rd.
You're right. Yeah. So correct. So Galactic Barrier was episode 10. Okay.
Sorry. Yes, I previously numbered them. I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we have 3 episodes left. So, yeah, not gonna get a lot of time with 10C. I'm thinking before the end of the season.
Well, I just predict like a quick resolution. They'll probably convince them that they're intelligent beings and whatever. I'm like, okay, I want something.
Or will we get a best of both worlds finale?
I'm okay. I don't need this to drag on.
No,
further.
I don't either. I'm
ready for the next big mystery, whatever that ends up being.
The next.
I'm ready to complain about that one. I'm ready to complain about the next big mystery that we're going to spend way too much time on.
The next universe shattering.
Yes, exactly.
Crisis.
Next crisis that Michael Burnham will solve.
Yes, there we go.
Basically.
All right, well, 3 episodes left. Yeah, fortunately we can sort of focus on it because we've seen the first 2 episodes of Picard, so we can sort of focus on that, and then we'll have the finale of Discovery and a brand new episode we've never seen before of Picard on St. Patrick's Day. Wow. So
mid-March.
Anyway, yes, yeah, we'll be halfway through March already. So yeah, that's where we're at. Yeah, I think we've done not a bad job of covering 2 episodes of Discovery.
Yeah, no, we did a great job.
So let's take a few minutes to talk about some initial impressions of our viewing of the Picard season premiere.
Yeah.
Mon capitaine, how I've missed you.
No.
Oh dear, you're a bit older than I imagined. Let me catch up. There, now we're even. Q. God damn Q. Do you recall what I said to you when last we parted ways? The trial never ends.
What the hell are you doing here?
You've been talking a lot about second chances. Well, my friend, welcome to the very end of the road not taken.
What did you think, Mike?
So I'm gonna relegate my thoughts to just the first episode. Obviously, we saw 2.
Yes, just the first episode.
Just the first episodes.
Right.
You know, I think, I was not expecting the Borg. Was not expecting that at all.
No, I didn't expect that. Yeah.
And I mean, even from the beginning, so that opening sequence that we've already kind of
I didn't expect like a Borg invasion, essentially.
Yes, I didn't either.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't expect it took me, I'd seen the preview, the opening scene preview, but I had not put together what was happening until we watched it tonight. And I realized that it was a Borg invasion of the ship. Right. And before we saw the Borg ship in the opening credits, which, again, Picard, all these shows actually blow a lot of their wad in the opening credits all the time.
Yeah.
It's so annoying because, like from the guest stars to,
Oh, you're talking about spoilers.
Yeah,
Sorry,
the spoilers. Yeah, sorry, spoilers in the opening credits.
Yes. Oh my God, so annoying. I didn't. Yeah, because they showed the Borg ship.
Right, and
I was like,
I had already put together based on what I saw. I was like, oh, look at that. That's probably a tentacle. That looks probably like a Borg tentacle. Okay, yep. So the Borg is taking over the Stargazer.
right.
So yeah, but I loved the Stargazer, the new Stargazer.
It's
I
nice.
loved it.
I'm glad we got a little bit of Star Trek porn. Like it was like a
Yes,
slow pan of the ship. It looks great. It's still very reminiscent of the old Stargazer silhouette, but obviously upgraded. And the bridge looks great. It's like the view screen is like super widescreen. I'm like, oh, I love that view screen. There are, I don't know how I feel. I don't know if you noticed, there are steps up to the captain, like the chairs. I don't know if I love the steps.
Yep. I don't
I'm like that.
Yeah, that's
I feel like I would
the only
be
part
falling
of
over that if I had to navigate the bridge all the time.
Yep. And as we saw, they fell down the stairs.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if the 3 steps are necessary.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, that's my thought on.
But overall, I liked it. I like the design.
I wasn't too sure.
By the way, this is our cursory discussion about episode 1.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I do love that they kept the registry number and just put an 8 in front of it. I thought that was a nice.
Oh, was it the same registry number?
It was, and I wasn't sure at first.
Yeah, I didn't check. I didn't cross-reference.
Until you see the scene where they're saying goodbye to where Picard is saying goodbye to Elnor and Raffi as they head off to the Excelsior. Talk about another name drop. Right. So they're in front of Picard is in front of the Excelsior, the original Excelsior thing. Yeah, and the Stargazer's right next to it, and the Stargazer's NCC number is there, and it's they put an 8 in front of.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because I wasn't sure if those plaques were for the new ships or the old ships.
Yeah, no, those are the old ships. Those are the originals. Yeah, those are the originals. So I thought that was a really nice touch. I really enjoyed that. I didn't get when we get it on Paramount Plus and I can freeze it, I'm going to see what other ships might be able to be made out.
I feel because I was paying attention to the plaques, like I feel that those are the only two they really put in front of you to see.
Oh, okay.
Really visible and clear. Because it did mention, they mentioned the Excelsior, so I was like, okay.
Oh, did you hear one of the cadets got assigned to the Sulu, which I thought was cool.
Yes, I heard that too.
I was like, yeah. Woke right up at the sound of that. Okay. It was a little bit of a slow start.
Okay. The Picard, Laris looks great.
Yeah, she
I was
does.
like, ooh, you're a little bit glammed up. Like, you
are. Love me some Laris.
We get this like weird fucking scene between Laris and Picard, and I was like, it's intimate, but I was like, wait, where's this going? And then I was like, oh my god, they're getting closer. And then I was like stalking you. I was like, what's happening? And I was just like, this feels so weird. It didn't feel right at all. It did not feel. I was not feeling it.
No,
it was so bizarre. I did not like it. But then they use this as a springboard to talk about Picard's loneliness, right? Which fine. But I'm just like, oh, why couldn't they never be back or like something? It's just
I slacked you when he was talking to Guinan later in the episode, which I thought that scene was really great. I was like, Beverly, anybody? Can we talk about Beverly? Like, what happened there? Like, why wouldn't Guinan bring that up? You know, and why wouldn't
has had other love interests, but
but you know, it was, you know,
but Beverly's probably the deepest one.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel that that's like a missing element, you know, like why wouldn't you bring up Beverly and all of this?
Oh, Laris. I was like,
it was really awkward, and
it's very awkward.
Yeah, it was, you know, it also felt like a little bit like, oh, the wine was talking, you know, I'm tired, you know, like that sort of thing. Like there's just this comfort level there, but also this throw some wine in there, throw a long day in the sun in there, you're just kind of like,
Oh, and by the way, did you notice? I was like, this is the most unnecessary use of technology, but they were transporting the grapes. I was like, oh my God, it's like so unnecessary. It's like,
I saw, so the first time I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, someone's beaming in to, like, I didn't catch it. I thought someone was beaming in to attack.
Grapes?
Yeah, no, not attacking them. I thought it was beaming into like right in the midst of that to attack Picard.
Oh, okay. But
yeah.
no, they were transporting the grapes.
Yeah. Then I saw the transporters all over the place, and I was like, oh, okay. Because obviously an attack did not follow. So I was like,
Right.
okay. But yeah, it's had a slow start. I'm still a little confused by the scene in the, I don't know, what do you want to call it? The atrium?
Is it sunroom? Yeah.
And the rose. And
then the flashback, was his mom like killed or something? I was kind of confused about that.
Yeah, dragged away by something, right?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't realize that
is
he
it
had like a
and is it his mom?
childhood.
Is it his mom? I'm assuming it's his mom, but
yeah, it's his mom. But that's what I was like, oh, does Picard suddenly now have a traumatic childhood, and that's why he's lonely? Because that's what Guinan was
sure. Yeah.
Guinan was asking him probing questions, and he didn't want to answer. I was like, oh my God, I guess Picard, we need to give him traumatic childhood, and that's why he chooses to be lonely.
Yeah.
Or something.
So anyway, yeah. So there's.
Which I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about.
Not
a traumatic childhood. Like that just doesn't seem to jive for me. But
Yep, it doesn't work terribly well for me either. But
if that is what it is, like it just feels weird. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. So but I love seeing Rios in the command chair, being captain, smoking his cigar right in the middle of the bridge.
Sure. Okay.
I thought it was interesting that there's some Borg technology that's integrated in the Stargazer and in new, it's a new class of ship. We don't know how it's integrated or what, like it's just integrated. What it is, I don't know. Like who knows? Maybe it's the next generation of like neural. Remember the Voyager had
neural gel packs.
So there's that, but
I would also be like, oh yeah, is this gonna be a security problem?
Yeah, right.
Apparently it turns out to be whatever.
Shocking.
Shocking. Yes.
Although we do learn that the Borg have been essentially decimated in this.
Yeah, I noticed that too, because Seven mentioned that. I was like, oh, so I guess what Janeway did at the end of Endgame, like, did more.
I mean, I guess we,
that's the only canon thing we had to go off of in terms of what's the most recent Borg.
Now, is that later than that happened before First Contact? So First Contact is actually the last Borg piece.
Wait. No, it wasn't, because the Borg Queen, you saw the Borg Queen for the first time in First Contact.
When did Admiral Janeway send Picard on a mission then? Which movie was that?
Wasn't that Nemesis?
Oh, that was Nemesis. You're right. Sorry. Yep. Okay.
The last time we saw the Borg from a chronological standpoint, if you don't count the artifact, which was standalone, was Endgame.
Okay. So there's that.
But apparently that did a lot more damage than we realized.
I guess so. Yeah. So they're decimated.
Which I was surprised by. Okay. All right.
Going back really quick, so we did mention this earlier. We are in 2401-ish, somewhere around there, because the awkward scene that we're talking about, it's been a year and a half since Zebon died. Now I'm wondering, and I don't remember the actor who played Zebon. Did he die? No, I don't know. Like, why wouldn't? Is that part of the story? Was that the whole idea of the story? Like,
oh no, I mean, I remember he was like kind of injured after the Romulans attacked.
The Romulans attacked, right. Oh yeah,
the house, but
yeah, we don't really know.
I don't remember him being on his deathbed.
No, I don't either. So that's where we kind of get the date of 2401, perhaps early 2402.
But I think they needed him to die to give Picard and Laris this like love story.
Yeah, sure. When when we have Beverly out there in the wings, just waiting for
Just waiting. She's just waiting for Picard to come. She's just pining for him.
No, of
Not
course
doing
not.
anything else.
Beverly would never pine for him, I don't think. No, so yeah. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I thought, the starship stuff was interesting, was good. I like that. The Borg coming out of this thing was completely shocking semi-shocking to me.
Semi-shocking.
Because I actually thought that kind of tear in the universe was all Q's little work, but
right. But apparently it was a Borg incursion into.
And I really do like the end when Q does show up and he's the younger version of himself and he changes himself to look like Picard.
Yes,
I thought that was interesting. They did a nice CG.
This was better than Brent Spiner. Like it didn't look as like off-putting.
Yes.
Basically, they did a
better. I mean, I think that with Q they actually did CGI, whereas Brent Spiner actually played Data.
No, I think it was a little bit. Well, I think I don't know. I think it was a little bit of both, like makeup and CG.
Oh, okay.
But I have to say, John Delancey has aged well. Like he looks great. I think he looks great. He sounds the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was interesting to him coming. Yeah. I thought that the ship blowing up and then them being in this alternate timeline was a good segue.
Mm-hmm.
Or him waking up in this alternate segue. That's Q somehow did something.
Right.
Supposedly. Or, well, we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, I'm running. My voice is running low, but also we've been recording for how long? An hour and a half.
An hour and a half. Yeah, not too bad.
Do you have any other thoughts on the premiere?
You mean, are we doing an extensive deep dive right now?
No, we're not. No. Just anything.
No, overall, I liked it. I thought it was a good setup. I'm glad we aren't waiting too long to kind of get into it. I did think that Picard season 1, the beginning was a little bit slow, like, before we got into even space. So I'm glad that right now it's really just going really, I think there was like a half hour where it's like setting up because it's been a while. But other than that, I mean, I agree with you, it was a little bit slow to begin with, but honestly, it was probably 20-30 minutes to set up, and then it kind of went quick. So
yeah.
No, I liked it. I enjoyed this season opener. Guinan was great. It's just so she's so visibly aged. Like and she just acts. She's not. I mentioned this last time. She doesn't act like, in my mind, she acts more like Whoopi Goldberg than like Guinan. She's like more sassy, but Guinan was never really sassy. He was like, "Do you want some hooch?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm not sure if I can ever say that, but I can see Whoopi Goldberg saying that." So
yeah, no, there's certain things you can do and you can't do.
Right.
You can't.
So I was like, all right, it's fine, and it's like it was like a 5-minute cameo, like whatever. It's fine.
Yeah, but it was great. It was great to see her, and I am a fan of Whoopi Goldberg's for the most part, and I think that I think it was great to have her.
And I think that this season, I think it, I don't want it to all be about like childhood trauma or whatever, but I do think it is interesting that we are kind of diving now into this idea where Picard has always been a loner. Like, was it Laris that said it's been a century and you're alone, or was it Guinan that said that? Like, it's like literally like he's never had like a long-term relationship from what we've seen. And why has he always chosen other things over, he's chosen other things, he's prioritized over other things, he's never chosen to be a relationship even when those opportunities have been presented to him. And I think that is interesting. I mean, it is a very definite trope that most of the captains we've seen, other than Michael Burnham are loners. Like they end up being like alone for the most part. I don't know if that's like a captain's burden or whatever, but I do think it's interesting that this is going to be a theme that I think we explore this season. I like that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where they go with that. I'm interested. I mean, I'm interested in the.
He needs to let love in, which is my mantra for this year.
Oh yeah, right. Yes, he does, and
I like that Guinan was like, yeah, you've explored all these frontiers, but you can't even put your heart out there. I did like that a lot.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah, he does need to explore his heart and all of that. So we'll see where that kind of takes him, whether that does lead back to Laris or not. Who knows?
I don't need it to, but sure.
I don't know.
Whatever. Let love in. It's like, sure, if it goes back to Laris, I guess.
I also like that we're gonna probably explore Raffi and Seven's dynamic as well.
Yeah, I mean, even from the trailers, we see them, put together. So
yeah, so we'll get to see that a little bit, and that's a good roundup, I think.
Yeah,
initial. We can talk more about it next week, and
I think we talk more about that along with episode 2. We can.
Yeah, exactly. Although we will still have only seen episode 2 once, whereas we can watch episode 1 again.
That's true.
So
episode 2 might be a oddly a distant memory by the time we talk about it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But anyway, I think it's off to a great start, and it's hard to believe
Queen's outfit when she beamed onto the Stargazer. I mean, Girardi made a comment. I was like, that is kind of weird. Why is she like wearing this like robe? Like very odd.
That's different. And her
that's
head
different. It was very different. And it was never explained, and I'm not sure it will be explained. I have no idea. It's not a usual Borg, outfit.
Well, and if you look closely, the head thing is sort of like
they're gears or something. They were like
it's unlocking something.
Yeah,
like her head is gonna unlock,
but then I'm wondering.
Yes, and I'm wondering if we're going to see.
It was almost like a cocoon. It looked like a cocoon of some sort.
Yes. And I'm wondering if that,
queen bee, analogy. The Miami of some sort of coming out chrysalis or something.
I'm wondering if we're gonna see the 7 of that universe come out of that cocoon, which would be interesting.
Well, what do you mean? The cocoon's like basically erased because now we're like in this alternate universe where that never happened.
Right, but eventually we're gonna go back to that universe.
You think we'll go back to that moment? You think?
I think that we'll get some sort of reset.
That'd be nice if we get the reveal, because I was like, unanswered question.
Yeah, I think we're gonna find out what that suit was all about and who's in that suit. Yeah, I think there's got to be a way to reset that, or they'll jump back and be on their way there or something. They'll have that knowledge, and they'll have some knowledge to kind of stop all of this, possibly.
Right.
Because they're also taking over not only the Stargazer but all of the ships around it. So so we'll kind of see what happens. Yeah,
it was just like the premise was like, it was interesting where it's a different tactic for the Borg, because they were, what are they saying, like they want to like join the Federation or something. That was interesting. I was just like, what's going on? I thought for a minute it was like going to be like a rogue Borg, like very similar to what we got from Hugh, like a rogue splinter that wanted to join the Federation maybe or something. But yeah, there's still a lot of questions there for me.
And you know what, I was just thinking of this, we may not get all the answers this season either. It's because possible. They were filming these 2 seasons back to back, and we could have a cliffhanger at the end of this season.
It's possible. Yeah.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, it's been an hour 30. So
now we're at an hour.
Past midnight.
We are. It is past midnight.
Well, Mike, do you want to talk really quickly about our sponsor?
Yeah, so Fansets is the exclusive sponsor of the Trek Geeks podcast network and Deep Space Pride. And let me check really quickly because I know we talked about the reveal of what is coming out this month. So just released a couple of days ago, we have the Star Trek Lower Decks and Star Trek Picard title pins, which I actually have not seen yet. And I'm going over
What pins?
So the title pins, but I'm not seeing them on the website yet. So that's interesting. That's what Dan tells me. It tells us is the newest pins for the first, and I'm not seeing those. So at least in the new releases, maybe they're somewhere else. Let me see if I can pull up the Star Trek universe ones before I lose my voice. Nope, we just have the deltas here. I'm not seeing anything else right now. But anyway, there's a ton of pins at fansets.com. I know that based upon what we've seen in just the first episode of Picard, there's going to be a whole lot more pins. They do a great job in recreating these wonderful pins, especially the deltas from all of the series. And so head on over to Fansets. Put a bunch of pins in your cart. If you are in the US and you have more than $30 in your cart, you're going to get free shipping. And they ship out really fast. They're a great group, Lou and John and the whole team at Fansets. And if you use the code DS Pride, you're going to save 10% off your order. So head on over to Fansets. Support them because they support us and the Trek Geeks podcast network.
Thanks, Fansets. Cool. All
Jensen,
right.
Tell our listeners how they can reach us and share what their thoughts are on.
On these two Discovery episodes or Picard. Yeah. So
yes.
We would love to hear from everyone. If you want to reach us on social, you can reach us on Instagram and Twitter at Deep Space Pride, and you can also email us at deepspacepride@gmail.com. Cool. All right. Well, that's another episode in the can.
Yeah. And we covered a lot of Star Trek. Wow.
Yeah, a lot. There is just so much Star Trek. Like it's nonstop now. I mean,
there's an embarrassment of riches of Star Trek out there.
What else Paramount's doing, but at least they're putting their money into Star Trek. So there it is.
Well, yeah. Not a whole lot of novel or litverse stuff though. Even the Picard novel got pushed back to September. So my outside entertainment is gonna be other things, I guess. No litverse stuff. Bummer. But anyway, plenty of, and we're just 2 months away from Strange New Worlds.
I know. Oh my god, there's just a lot.
That's great. I cannot wait. That's actually the one that I think I'm most excited about, but
and also,
loving it all.
By then it's going to be warm in New York. Hopefully we won't be in a post-nuclear apocalyptic wasteland. Yes. It's actually a possibility.
Oh man.
But hopefully it'll just be warm and we're not on fire. I mean, yes. Nice.
Yes, hopefully the world will be at peace. We can emerge from this pandemic and have some time just to breathe. Just I think this whole world needs to just breathe,
chill,
and chill. Take a moment, sit down, breathe, have a glass of wine, do something, but chill out. So let's hope that happens. Because God, we need it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will, barring any disasters, we'll be back here next week to talk about more Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard and whatever other news or other stuff.
Or whatever blunders Paramount puts out there.
Blended.
I'm sure.
Yes.
We'll talk about that too.
I'm sure we'll have more of those too, because that seems to be event of the week.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Deep Space Pride is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks Podcast Network at trekgeeks.com or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.